Happy Crimson Friday! Happy AdventureX Steam event. I'm very excited to be streaming tonight live on my Steam store page. This is live. It says on the bottom corner that it's live. When it's not live, I will be rebroadcasting this exact stream during the rest of the event. So it'll have like a thing that says rebroadcast on the bottom there. But today and right now, it's live. So thank you so much for coming and joining me. I will be playing the third chapter of the game. The game is 7 chapters. Whenever there's a Steam event, I've been trying to show slowly, chapter by chapter by chapter. Eventually, we'll get through the whole thing, but not quite yet. And what I'll be doing is I'll be going through the third chapter. I'll give like a brief synopsis of the game up to this point. And just some game developer note stuff leading up to the third chapter. Then we're gonna get into the third chapter, play through that, and then we'll be on our merry way. I do want to thank AdventureX very much for being such a big positive influence on the Crimson Diamond and me developing the Crimson Diamond. Hey, Mouse, it's good to see you. Yes, I started a little bit early today because inevitably when I'm streaming on Steam, the first 5 minutes is me scrambling and just being scared that it's not working. So thank you for verifying that it indeed is working and you can hear me and see me just fine. I guess I should introduce myself. Hello, I am Julia Minamata. I am the solo game developer behind the Crimson Diamond, which is right now on sale for 10% off during this AdventureX Steam sale. It's the first time it's been on sale since the game launched, which was August 15th. So it's a good time, and it's coming up on weekend, so it might be a good time to pick it up and settle down for a cozy autumnal evening or evenings and play a bit of the game. What can I tell you about it? So AdventureX. I showed the game for the first, one of the earliest events that I showed the game at was AdventureX 2019 in London at the British Library. And I actually have this picture of me at that event. Here's my stand-up banner that's now very battered from going through luggage checking. And it's kind of leans over nowadays, but it's still in decent shape, although I really haven't hauled it to anything else for a while. But this is 2019 me with my AdventureX setup, and it was really cool to not only get to show the demo of the game. I only had the demo at this point. It was really cool to get to show the game to people, to adventure game enthusiasts, but it was also really cool to meet some of my fellow adventure game developers that I've gone on to see at other events and also bond over the shared experience of developing and launching games. That includes Francisco Gonzalez of Grindeslav Games, currently working on Rosewater and made Lamplight City. Yan of Golasso Games, who is also showing at this AdventureX, Inspector Waffles, and just will be releasing Inspector Waffles Early Days, November 15th. And I think Adam Richards, was there, who's launching Locomotive soon. And just a bunch of really, really wonderful adventure game developers, some really good talks as well. So, really good times. We're going to get really right into it. Before we get into it, though, I had a really, really fun piece of mail come in. Was it just today? Or was it? I think it was yesterday it came in. And I'm very excited to share this. I didn't get to share it on my stream. Oh yeah, I usually stream on Tuesdays on Twitch at 8 p.m. Eastern for Crimson Tuesdays. If you enjoy the stream tonight, that's where you're usually going to find me. What I've been doing, now that the game is done, I can't really do like game art on stream anymore. But what I've been doing is I've been working on an EGA version, which you actually see behind me, an EGA version of the actual key art that I made for the game. That's what we've been kind of slowly working on. I also love doing retro gaming on Twitch. I stream EGA games, particularly EGA adventure games, old EGA adventure games, although you usually don't have to say that, but mine is a new EGA adventure game, so that's kind of a bit of an exception. But yeah, I've been streaming EGA games in the evenings as well on those Tuesdays. So. But this is the thing that came in. This came in. This Edge, this is number 402. This is the November 2024 issue of Edge magazine from the UK. And what's really awesome about this particular issue, actually, I'll turn off my chroma key so it's gonna look okay. what you'll find in this issue is there's a review. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Let me let me also turn off all. I turn back on the auto everything, the auto focus and auto exposure. Okay. They reviewed the Crimson Diamond in this issue, the November 2024 issue of Edge, and they gave it an 8. So thank you so much, Edge Magazine, for that. Really, really glad that came in. So I'll be showing this again on my stream on Tuesday, but I did want to show that today just as an extra fun thing. Okay. So, another thing that I'm going to want to do is turn back on this chroma key, and then we're going to get into it. We're just, without much ado, we're going to get into it. I am working currently on an update for the game, for the Crimson Diamond. Up until now, the achievements have been working on the Steam version and the GOG version, the GOG version, for PC, but for Mac, only certain kinds of Mac machines could do the achievements and not other ones. But in the update that should be coming out hopefully in the next couple of weeks, that will be fixed. The achievements will work on Steam and on GOG for Windows PC and for Mac. That's what we're working on now. And today we're going to be playing the game. It's not the player build currently. This is like my tester build, so it has like cheats and warps and things. But we will be playing with the redesigned font, because I did get a lot of feedback about the legibility of the font that's in the game, which I did design. It's my first time designing a font as well as everything else in the game. And yeah, I wanted to increase the legibility, so I designed a new font basically for the game, which we'll be looking at today as we play the game. It will become the default font for the game, but you will have the option of toggling back and forth between them, and I will show you how we're going to do that. Hey, Eating With, Chad, good to see you. Happy Crimson Good Tuesday. Yeah, we're just going to get into it. You guys can see how the game plays with the font. Let's do that. Oh, I should change the screen. Okay, turn off this picture. Okay, and here we are. Let me know if you find the music too loud or too soft or whatnot. Hello, it is I. Hello, WK82715. Happy Crimson Tuesday. We're going to get into it. You'll notice in this menu, there is an added button. This is a menu's getting really full, but there's an added button here that will be in the update. It's not in the current version, and this is, you can see, this is version 1.10 tester build. This is not what's currently on any storefront anywhere. This is just my most recent working copy. But yeah, you can click this. Oh, yeah, see, this has already been fixed. I thought I fixed this. It's not called TextVenture Serif. That was my working title for the font. The font is actually called Crimsonite. But yeah, these are the two fonts. This one is the default font that is in the game currently, and then this sans serif font, as I've been designing it the past few weeks. Hello, Irvin. Happy Crimson Tuesday. We're just getting started. You haven't missed anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just... Oh, yeah. If anyone... just a brief background about this game. It's a cozy mystery adventure game. It's got this very specific 16-color palette. It uses a text parser interface, which is not that common nowadays. But knowing that it's not that common nowadays, I have this tutorial room that kind of was going to walk you through the basics of playing a text parser game. I'm not going to play through this myself because... I know how to play the game, but it's something I really wanted to have to make sure that people would familiarize themselves with the commands that can be used in the game. So this is here for people. If you've never played a text parser adventure game before, never fear. This whole room is here for you to walk you through all the basics. But we're going to get into it. I'm not going to read out all the dialogue for this. This intro, as you'll see it, is also in the current version of the game that's available on all the storefronts. So we're just gonna go through it real quick. The basic story being that there is this fisherman up in a remote area called Crimson, Ontario. He catches this fish, he guts it, and inside it, what does he find? He finds this really large diamond, actually, and it triggers this diamond rush to Northern Ontario. And this is the Royal Canadian Museum, also known as the Royal Ontario Museum, but I just renamed it for fun. Yes, it's based in Toronto. I'm also a developer who's based in Toronto, and it was really fun to recreate these historic buildings. And this is Professor Plummer, who is Christopher Plummer, basically, but also Professor Plum from Clue. Clue being another one of my many inspirations for this. And this particular screen has a lot of adventure game Easter eggs. You're not really going to find them anywhere else in the game, but I wanted to kind of put them all in one place. And I made this room during one of my Twitch streams, and I took a lot of suggestions of what we should put in here. But we're just going to move right in. You might see the Idol of Many Hands. There's a close-up of the Idol of Many Hands up there. But yes, he's just telling you what I just told you. And Nancy says that she wants to go up north and investigate this diamond claim. And being the youngest and therefore most expendable person on the staff, she's allowed to go. Off she goes to adventure. Hey, okay, Bilkun, good to see you. Mostly looking tonight. You're going to transfer files from DOSBox to Windows 10 to my 1995 compact all-in-one via null modem 9-pin serial. Fantastic. I love to hear it, Bilkun. This is based on a historic photo of Union Station's interior, which was around during this time and was an active train station and still is to this day. And here she goes. And this exterior is also based on Union Station exterior at this particular point in time. Looks a little bit more built up nowadays, but hey, Kippy Soap, happy Crimson Tuesday. SH Don, good to see you. Thank you for dropping by. I really appreciate it. And thank you, SH Don, one of my testers, so thank you so much for being one of my testers. And also Chad as well, and Maximus. I just really appreciate it. Yeah, I mentioned I'm a solo game dev, which means I did all the stuff in the game, except for the music. Dan Pollakar did the music, but I really did not make this game alone. I could not have done this without my testers, so thank you so much for doing that for me. Hopefully, I don't know if the stream is just chugging for me or what, but hopefully it's not chugging for you guys. This is another improvement in the update that's going to happen. You can unpause the game by pressing the / or 9. I was told by some folks that if you have a different language keyboard and you don't really have a / necessarily, so I added this as an option too. So 9 will also unpause the game. And all this music that you're hearing is composed by Dan Pollakar on a genuine Roland MT32. He somehow hooked it up to his Pro Tools and figured out how to make music with it, which was incredible. And most of the music, in fact, we composed live on stream as well, which is about 42 minutes of music. All right. Here she goes out of the city. Nancy's a city girl. She grew up in an area called The Ward during this time. This is the early 1900s, and The Ward was... Well, now it's an extremely expensive central part of downtown Toronto, but at the time it was considered not a very affluent area, let's say. And Nancy is a child of Irish immigrants. Okay, music is soft. Okay, I will fix that when we get into the game. Okay, I will fix both of those. Sound effects and music. Up on music, down on sound effects. Overclocked Apicus, good to see you. Happy Crimson Tuesday. Hey, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Nice. Okay, good to see you. Good to see you. Okay, and here we meet Kimi Kishiro. Oh, the keypad. Interesting. If someone uses the keypad to move Nancy around with pressing 9 on that, pause the game. I don't know. I don't think so. I think maybe 9 will only unpause. I don't know. We'll have to check. We'll test. We'll test in the game. Kimi Kishiro. Kimi is based on my heritage, my Japanese Canadian heritage. My dad's side of the family emigrated to Canada, emigrated from Japan to Canada in the late 1800s, maybe, really early. Also, the name Kishiro is named after Yukito Kishiro, who is the artist and writer of Battle Angel Alita, which is one of my favorite manga. Okay, so this is, they're talking, and then Kimmy is going to be bird watching up in Crimson. That's what she wants to do. And that's also a thing that my parents were really involved in, and my mom still to this day is. Okay, so here they are at Crimson. It took them all day and all night to get there. So it's a bit remote. And Nancy is now, like many a traditional adventure game protagonist, doesn't have her luggage. So you start with, not actually, you don't start with nothing. You still have stuff in your pockets and stuff. And I'll show you what that is. Here is another passenger on the train. This is Albert, who is sent by the Canadian government to investigate the diamond claim here in Crimson. This is Jack. Jack is jack of all trades at the lodge. He does kind of the cooking, the cleaning, the gardening, everything. And he's here to pick up Albert, but that was the last train leaving, so he's going to take everyone to the lodge to spend the night, and then take them back here to the train station tomorrow morning. Spoilers, that doesn't happen, but we'll see that. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, this is probably really loud, so I'm just going to get through all this. They're just talking about the background of of Crimson. I can only imagine how loud that is, so. Okay. Yeah, just kidding. I'm so sorry about the sound levels. But here's Crimson Lodge, and we're going to get right into the game. Okay, Albert. Oh yeah, Albert might look suspiciously like a certain Agatha Christie detective, Hercule Poirot, and he certainly is based on that character. Although it kind of does work for the game as well, because Belgium is and was at the time a major hub for diamond trading, and Antwerp particularly is. So, Moscow. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah. So if you can't press 9 to pause. Oh, you can. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you can, but my arrow keys are fine in the game. So I don't know. But is the 9? The 9 is diagonal. Is the 9 a diagonal though on a numpad? Anyway, okay, here we are. This game does look and sound a lot like. Speaking of looking and sounding, looks and sounds a lot like old school adventure games from like 30 years ago, with the color palette and the music. But I did try to design a few conveniences for players. One of them is this notebook function that is your objective tracker and tells you what you need to do to progress through the game. And I'm not going to go through all of this. You're going to get a front seat to some of the cheats that won't be in the final version of the game. They're only here for testers. But the first thing you have to do is you have to introduce yourself to everyone at the lodge. From a game design perspective, I wanted the player to explore the area and do some very basic text parsing actions to kind of get them eased in to the idea of playing a text parser adventure game. And the first thing we need to do is we need to talk to Kimmy. And this is the new font that will be in the game, and hopefully it is a little bit more legible than the one that we started with. Okay, so here she goes. Continue. And then you'll get a chime, and the chime will tell you that you have done a good thing. And also a good thing to do is to check this notebook periodically, because it will give you some pointers of things you can try that might not necessarily be for game progression. The one that we have is open the curio cabinet drawer, then search the drawer and take the brochure. You might notice that at the very top of this notebook we have some asterisked lines, and what those are, that means that that's your current objective to progress through the game. Because in a game such as The Colonel's Bequest, which this game is very much inspired by, sometimes you could accidentally progress the game, and I didn't like that mechanic, and I wanted to make it very explicit what you would need to do to progress the game in a way to encourage players to do whatever they wanted and be relaxed about playing this game. The genre of this game is cozy mystery, in the way that Agatha Christie books and things are considered cozy mysteries, and Father Brown. That genre means something specific from a mystery perspective, but I also wanted to make a cozy game from a cozy game perspective, which has a whole set of philosophies, including really generally not stressing the player out, not giving them a feeling of time pressure and things like that. Hey, return to Spielberg. Happy Crimson Tuesday. Yeah, we're just going through it with some of the stuff. So this is one of the main things. I also have, pretty late on in the development, I did create this review function that actually wasn't supposed to be active until maybe chapter 5 or 6, when things start really getting complex. But then I went back, and then I implemented it into the earlier chapters, because I just found it was really handy for people who didn't want to dig through this notebook. At the end of the game, you might be going through like 60 pages of notebook to get to figure out what you need to do next. This review command will tell you like your top thing that you need to do currently, which is to introduce yourself to everybody. Oh, Seagull, good to see you. Happy Crimson Tuesday. Okay, so, and then that's a brief rundown of who you still need to talk to. But why don't we can search, we can open the curio drawer. Okay, so we open it. We can look in Curio Door. We can also search Curio Door, or we have text parser shortcuts, which is something else I wanted to implement into the game. And that is shortened to S. And drawer, you can shorten to DR. Curio Door is stuffed with old brochures. Fantastic. We can get brochure, which is G, or take brochure. Great. We can ask characters about different topics. We can ask Kimmy about the brochure. There's Control A, will give you ask about, or there you can do A-B as well. And it's completely up to you how you want to play the game. I really wanted to give you a lot of options, because I know certain people have certain feelings about how they want to play these games, and I wanted to keep it as open as possible for people. So this is a map that's in the game, and it gives you just when the place was an actual lodge. This would have been helpful for guests, but it's been closed to the public for a little bit now. Let's see. Well, open door is OD, and if there's only one door in the whole room, she'll just walk to that door. But if there's more than one door, you're gonna have to be specific. Okay, I'm glad you're not getting any issues with stream, because it looks like it's frozen for me at the part where I'm showing the AdventureX image. So I'm glad that that's not the case. Okay, so type A, help, or H for the help window. This is another thing. This is more text parser shortcuts that I've included in the game to kind of streamline stuff if you don't really want to type too much. There are abbreviations for character names like Margot, Albert, Corvus, Nessa, as well as examine is X, S is search, G is get or taken, etc. Hopefully those would be helpful to people. Okay. But see, for instance, if I type OD here, I'd have to walk closer to the door I'd like to open. But I can type OWD, and she will open the west door. Or the L, or it could be the left door. Things like that. Okay. So we have this area here. I'm going to open this door. I'm not going to go through the whole chapter, but why don't we talk to Margot? Talk to Margot. Okay. And there's this visual prompt for a note added to your notebook, so you can track your progress. In old Sierra games, you would get like a points chime, but you might not have like a visual cue that you did anything. But I wanted to have something visual. I think it was suggested to me by a player to have actually a visual cue for when you've done something to progress. Because what if someone's not listening to the music in the game, or what if they have hearing issues, or all these kinds of things. That was something I was happy to implement, because it's a fairly easy one to do. But yeah, I guess before I skip to the second chapter, I will quickly demonstrate. Yeah, the beauty of a text parser is that you have to kind of pay attention to what people are saying and what they're doing, and really read those text descriptions to figure out what you can actually talk to people about. So we can talk to Margot about Margot. We can ask her about other characters. So what's interesting, watching other people play this game. They would go to the notebook, and they'd see the names they could ask. Oh, I can ask about this person, and there's their name. So you can ask about Nessa, you can ask about all kinds of people. But yeah, the first part of this game is just going through the lodge, just exploring the rooms, talking to the characters, and then you go to a dinner time. But I have a cheat here that it says you've talked to all the characters. Hooray. And I'll show you a bit of the cutscene for dinner time, and we can listen to this beautiful waltz that Dan has composed. And another thing that I got to improve upon from the old Sierra games is I got to do more close-ups in my game, and that's because I didn't have to worry about squeezing this game onto 4 floppy disks. This game, I think one of my testers mentioned that this game would take more than 40 floppy disks if it was a floppy disk game. But because I didn't have those limitations, I could kind of do whatever I wanted with the art. I could have as much art as I wanted, as many animations. I really tried to take advantage of the no limitations aspect of this game. And even still, the game is it's less than 250 megabytes altogether, which I kind of think is a lot of fun, considering most games are quite a bit larger than that nowadays. But yeah, I really enjoyed making these close-ups. So we're going to go through this real quick. There's also, it's kind of really difficult to talk about sort of the so-called frontiers of Northern Ontario during the turn of the century, and without addressing the First Nations issues that were happening at that time with the government, and how the government was kind of pushing First Nations people off their land with these bad deals that they didn't honor. I was very fortunate that I got connected with an Indigenous sensitivity consultant, Sonia Ballantyne, who herself is a filmmaker and a writer, and she was a fantastic person to consult with. And I would recommend, if you are writing anything with characters of other backgrounds, it's a really good idea to get a consultant in. Because what Sonia did for me is actually gave me an incredible amount of first-hand historical context that she's had, experienced nowadays, and she's heard tell from her parents and her grandparents. And I was able to really flesh out Nathan's story and actually do some extra interesting things with his background that I wouldn't have even thought of to do before. So I'm really, really pleased with having worked with her. And I understand why there would be resistance to hiring a consultant, because you feel like they're going to affect your story badly, or you feel like I was afraid that I would offend her with what I put in the game already, or I would be sort of inadvertently disrespectful of the culture and everything. But she was fantastic to work with, so I would heartily recommend any other game developers who are writing anything that have to do with other cultures to try to find culture sensitivity consultants, because they add to the game so much, at least in my experience. So, okay, we're going to just exit out of this. Now we're at the second part of chapter 2. Chapter 1 has 3 kind of distinct sections to it. The first is talking to people before dinner, and then there's 2 kind of after dinner sections. But I didn't actually show you one of the main mechanics in the game that you'll be doing quite a bit of in a bunch of different ways. But there are conversations to listen to, and this is definitely something that I got from the Colonel's Bequest, but overhearing other characters talk and how to do that. In this case, we can slide in and listen to Nessa and Corvus. This is also a bit of an addition to this part of the game. In this cutscene, Nessa and Corvus are facing away from us. It's impossible basically to tell who's talking, which is why now I've got Nessa, comma, and then whatever the dialogue happens to be. And so that will be in the new update. Even though I tried to kind of orient the text boxes kind of nearer to one character or the other character, but even still it's hard to tell, so I did change that. Okay, I'm just gonna go through that. Yeah, that's one way. There are sometimes other ways of listening to things. There is a conversation you can listen to by hiding behind this tapestry, which is kind of fun, because if you pay attention to the conversations, you can overhear 2 characters mention that they will come to the study after dinner for a secret conversation, and you can do that. But we're going to move on. Let's see, what kind of skip can I do? I'm going to do a skip to the end of this chapter. Okay. The last thing you need to do when you check through I'm speed running. I'm not even speed running. I'm cheating, famously cheating, in a way that no one can actually cheat in this game. Like if you try these shortcuts in the game, they're not going to work in the actual player build. We need to eavesdrop on that boudoir door, and we're going to need to get an item to do that. Oh yeah, I mentioned, although your suitcase was taken from the train, you do start with some stuff, and one of the things you start with is your lucky loop, which you wear around your neck, and it is also this tool here. It's a kind of an examining cursor for your inventory items. And you do have a newspaper here, which is that newspaper we saw that Professor Plummer gave us in the intro. And here is our handy dandy notebook, which is another way to look at the notebook, which in the inventory. And here's the map as well. So that's what we do start with. But we can get the drinking glass, open the cupboard, get glass. And here it is now in our inventory. There's an option for people who want to kind of more closely replicate the experience of playing a Sierra adventure game at the time. You can go for the text parser, the text list of inventory items, which can still basically do the same things as the graphical inventory. You can still look by pressing L on a highlighted item, or E for examining that highlighted item. But I do prefer the graphical inventory. Although this Sierra games of this era just didn't have graphical inventories, I just really like making the little graphics, and that's why I decided to do that. But this chapter ends with a very interesting conversation between 2 characters. So you can listen with glass. But we're not gonna, if you want to play the game yourself and see what they're talking about, but I do want to show how this figures into you not being able to leave the lodge for a little bit. Okay. This is the what the demo was. The whole first part up until that explosion was the whole demo that I had, and that's what I showed at AdventureX actually in 2019. And now we're in chapter 2, and I'm not going to do all of chapter 2 either. Chapter 2 is basically, Kimmy says, okay, we got to meet Jack and go to the train station, which you do, and then you realize that the bridge is out, and you're going to be stuck here for a little bit longer. There's some other conversations here that you might want to listen to, but we're not going to get into that, because it's already 8:30, and I kind of scheduled this to just be an hour long, and I want to get, hopefully, through chapter 3. So, okay, so we're going to meet Kimmy, and then we're going to go back to the carriage house, and go back to the station. I'll show you what the station looks like in the morning, because it's kind of nice to see. Here's the station in the morning. Jack goes in, gets a telegram about the bridge being out, and then brings us back to the lodge. So I just skipped over that cutscene. And in this chapter, which is chapter 2, you have to, in traditional adventure game logic, you have to improvise your tools, which is a pick, a hammer, a small shovel, and a streak plate. So that's what that is. But I think, looking at the time, I probably, and actually the chapters get longer as we go. I should probably just totally skip to chapter 3, which I will do by entering 8 into the parser. Chapter 3, part 2 testing. Okay. And this chapter is where things start to heat up a little bit. A theft has occurred, and we're kind of seeing that. Nessa had a ruby brooch in the jewelry box you see up over there on the upper left, and she's accusing people and getting very upset, and she tells you that you need to find out what happened to it for some reason. So. Okay. And this is where, chapter 2 is where the field work happens, the basics of the field work, because you are there for mineralogy. You get some samples, you get to take a look at them and use some of your tools. But this chapter is where it gets a bit more detective-y, where we're going to have to start gathering fingerprints from everybody. But before we can do that, let's examine that box. The wood looks unharmed. The box probably wasn't forced open. Nancy thinks she can see some oily smudges, and she might be able to find possibly a powdery substance to reveal any fingerprints that might be on smooth surfaces. You need to MacGyver yourself a fingerprint kit. You can also look at the lock, which I don't know if my testers know this. Oh, can't you examine lock? I thought you could. Yeah, here we go. The lock seems sturdy. There are fine scratches around it. This looks like someone might have picked this lock. I don't know if my testers knew that you could do that, but you can. SH Don asks, which of the backgrounds that you've drawn for the game do you like the most? I really like the museum basement. I like filling shelves with stuff. I love the lighting in that room as well. I say that one, but also there's one that happens. There's a special ending that you can get, and I really love how I did that one. That was probably the last background it did for the game. And I do feel like as I've gone through this whole long process of making the game, which has been more than 6 years, I got better and better at making the backgrounds. Like this room was probably made 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, really. Well, probably closer to 5 years ago. So a lot of the artwork that's in the lodge and outside the lodge is quite old. And only when you get to chapter 6 and chapter 7 is when you actually see some new stuff. And that's when I feel like you can just see the progression in style from this earlier stuff to that later stuff. Yes, the special ending. Yeah, exactly, Chad. The special ending stuff. There's some stuff I'm really proud of in chapter 6 as well, in terms of setting the scene and everything. But yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the game takes place in and around the lodge. So chapter 1, you're kind of restricted to inside the lodge. This chapter, you're also restricted to inside the lodge. Chapter 2, you actually get to explore outside, and there's a smokehouse, and there's a shed, and a gazebo, and all kinds of places. But all that art was pretty much done by maybe 2019 or something. And for the rest of the time, it was doing the writing, doing the puzzles, doing the coding. And then only near the end, I would say the last couple of years, I was working on chapter 6 and 7, and that's when I actually got to do more room art and backgrounds and things. And that was a lot of fun. After having not really done any background art for probably literally years. Okay, we need to find, we need to find a sticky tape and powder and all kinds of stuff. Now, and I know where that is because I made the game. This is Evan. I don't even know if we met Evan yet, except at the dinner scene that we skipped, but he is the recluse who owns the lodge. And this is his lady friend Margot, and he's reading a quote from Walden, because Walden being a period-appropriate book about somebody who enjoys living kind of on their own in a quiet place in kind of the wilderness. So this is a favorite book for both of them. Okay. But there is something here that's on the nightstand, and it wasn't here in the earlier chapters, although you could get it in an earlier chapter. There is a roll of adhesive plaster on the right nightstand. We can take it. Plaster. Right. So you're going to need that. You need a powdery substance. If you look, there's an okay, Margot's here, Evan's here. Look, fireplace. There's some powdery soot accumulating in the fireplace, which is something else you can get in the earlier chapters as well. So we can get soot. Okay. And as you can see, as we obtain these things, your notebook is updating with what you've done. Now we need a suitable container for the powder. And that happens to be here. And if we just look, it says, what did it say? Powder compact is on the vanity. So we can get the compact. And this was also something you could get in the earlier chapter. As if you remember in chapter 1, Margot was kind of primping at her vanity before dinner, but you could ask her for the tin even then. And there's a little animation where she hands it over to you. Not that you need it at that point, but it's obtainable. Okay. So here we go. Tin is a perfect container. Okay, we should fill the tin with soot, and here it is. An elegant tin of powder. A label reads, "Absorb your oils and grab your prints. A brush is included for application." That was kind of my subtle hint about what you're meant to do with the powder. Is grab fingerprints. Grab your prints. Anyway, refill tin with soot. Okay. Okay. Now Nancy can ask people for their fingerprints and also reveal those prints on smooth surfaces and lift the fingerprints with sticky tape. Maybe she can get to the bottom of the ruby brooch theft. This is oh, we didn't see this area before. This is Margot's walk-in closet. Okay. But the first fingerprint we're going to get, actually, let's see if we can ask people for fingerprints, revealing print on surfaces. Okay, we could, we're going to dust dust glass. That's here. Oh, well, spell it correctly. And here we go. Margot's drinking glass has a fingerprint. We can get the fingerprint. And we tear off a piece of that white adhesive plaster, apply it to that smooth surface, and up we have with our first fingerprint. And now we can type compare fingerprints to check which fingerprints we have yet to obtain. That's another progress check. Let's type compare fingerprints. If we review, it'll tell us, Nancy will remind us what we need to do, including from whom we have yet to obtain prints. You can see now, because I got that first fingerprint, Evan is now not here in this room anymore, in fact. Although this is not really, it's a minor story progression thing, but it doesn't really affect, I don't think, anything else. No. And here is the break-in. Not only was Nessa's ruby brooch burgled, but this curio cabinet was also burgled. And if we search the cabinet, it appears to be missing some items. There are some empty spaces on the shelves. Examine curio. Glass is jagged and sharp. I wonder if the perpetrator left any marks behind. If there are any, I need something to help me see them. I'm not sure what was stolen. I wish I'd looked inside the curio before the burglary. This is an example of, yes, you can miss things in this game, but it's not going to stop you from progressing through the game. And that was kind of my trade-off in between encouraging replayability, but also not wanting players to be stuck in a very frustrating situation where it's impossible to progress. I designed the game so you can progress through the main story of the game no matter what. But this is an example of something small that you can miss. Like if we didn't look into this curio cabinet, we don't know what was stolen from this area, which means that there is something that's something we really cannot necessarily further investigate, although we can, because we can ask people questions, and that's something that that is very useful to keep in mind. So I wonder if we can salvage that. So we can ask people about the curio cabinet. We can try that. But dust curio. Okay, there goes the little fingerprints. Get print. These are my tester shortcuts that I use, because often I want to type as little as possible too, although I do love a text parser, of course. Okay, there we go. We haven't actually gone in this room. There's a painting here of a cat. This is Dido Cat. This was a real cat. She passed away in 2018, but she was the sweetest tuxedo cat you ever saw. She's immortalized in the game in this pixel art portrait. She's also immortalized in a gigantic patchwork quilt that my mom made, and also a little cross stitch of that same design. I don't even know if we've talked to this fellow. Look. You can say look man or look person if you want. This is Corvus Shaw. We can talk to... I don't even know if we've talked to him yet. Yeah, still quite busy. And most people are busy and they don't want to talk to you. Yes, Chad says, I bet the cabinet stored priceless Fabergé eggs made from cormorant eggs. Yes, Dido is immortal, so let's look at painting and let's celebrate her. Oil paintings are hung over the two beds. Tuxedo cat lying on grass surrounded by flowers. That cat reminds me of the sweetest stray I've ever met. A tuxedo cat just like that. Okay. But there are a number of trash cans or waste paper baskets or however you want to call that item there beside Corvus. Because I know how much adventure gamers love a good trash bin. You can look in these bins. And most of the times they're empty, but if they're not empty, I try to make it obvious that there's something in there. And in this case, the waste paper basket is full of ink-splattered paper, most likely a result of Corvus's leaky pen. Oh, yes, and Dido does live on in another game. I spoke of Yan of Golosso Games, whom I met for the first time during AdventureX 2019 when he was showing Inspector Waffles. But yes, Dido does live on as a wool ball player in Inspector Waffles. Gotta raid the trash bins. Yeah, I didn't want to make it difficult for players. I want to make it very clear when there is something in there, we can get the paper. And yes, we found Corvus's fingerprint, easy as that. Let's move on. Oh, here's Nessa. Nessa is going to be cooperative for fingerprints because, after all, we are helping her. So we can ask her for that. Okay. All right, and then we can dust box. Right. Get print. Right. Okay. Actually, I wonder if we can ask Nessa about curio. Evan mentioned, okay, something. Silversteins are very valuable, but nowhere near as valuable as my ruby brooch. Okay, so now we know what was stolen from the cabinet. So I wonder if we would look in the cabinet now. It might sound silly that I'm asking myself, I wonder what will happen if we examine the cabinet now that we know that there were Silversteins here. But I actually don't know what will happen. The reason I don't know sometimes what will happen in the game is that, like I mentioned, a lot of this game was developed over a number of years, and a lot of this stuff I programmed was many years ago, and I literally just don't remember what's in the game. In fact, I found another one that I didn't remember was in the game last night. Let's examine that curio. Right. Oh, see, I'm not sure what was stolen. I wish I looked inside the curio. See, now I found my own bug, so I'm going to make a note. Gotta move that Edge magazine. Okay. Look what I found. Oh, I just knocked over my pens. Look what I found. I found a bug. This should update. And that's the thing about this game. And there's a lot of small bugs like this because there's so many little flags to check. So let's see. If Nancy asks about curio, examining curio, I'm not sure it was stolen. Okay. I'm not sure. She should know now. There is a lot of stuff like this in the game because it's a lot going on. Okay. That's minor though. It's a fairly minor. I don't think that's going to get fixed in the next update. Okay. Oops. Okay. Next one will be... Oh yeah, okay, so why don't we do Evan's fingerprint next? Okay. Right. This room, I mentioned that this game is very much inspired by the board game Clue or Cluedo. And this room only exists because of the board game Clue. Because there's a billiards room in Clue. There's also a conservatory in Clue. There's a study in Clue. When I designed this, and originally I wasn't thinking I was making a game. I thought I was just making pixel art for fun. And I eventually had to invent a reason why I made a billiards room, and this is what I came up with. Okay. And this does have like an adventure game visual gag. If you get the cue, Nancy picks it up and slides it into her skirt, in much the way that Roger Wilco would slide an entire ladder down his pants. But yeah, we can hit the ball. Most of the lodge, I had to come up with reasons why stuff is after the fact. So we can scratch the ball. You can hit ball into hole, I think works. Oh, into hole. Right. Which is the key of what you need to do in this. It would just continue to repeat and repeat and repeat, like the sequence of hitting the ball, and then Evan resetting the table until you do this. Because what we need him to do is we need Evan to touch that cue ball. Yeah, you just need to know how to pack. I tell people that I think Nancy's just got a double-lined skirt, and it's not even just a pocket, like the whole inside of the skirt is just room for storing stuff. Okay. Now, you see, he won't let us take the ball now because we have to hit the ball in the hole first. We're going to have to scratch the ball again. Scratch ball. It's really hard to animate a pixel ball rolling, like, at all. That's okay. Okay, so now we have the ball. Now we can dust the ball. We can get the print. And then we can just try to leave the room, and then she'll automatically like return everything just to make it easier for the player. Okay. Next one to do. Yeah, so we can ask people for fingerprints, but some people are going to be more cooperative than others. We can ask Nathan, and Nathan's helpful. He's going to give us a print. It was an easy one. But Kimmy's less cooperative, so we're going to have to figure something out for her. Okay. And here we have... Yeah, this is, as you can see, that this room is a little bit different now. We've got Jack sitting here at this table, baking cookies. We can smell the room, maybe. Yes, the kitchen smells deliciously of freshly baked cookies. I really loved Colonel's Bequest and how just as time would go on in the game, people would be in different areas and they'd be doing different stuff. Made it feel like it was like alive to me. You can get a baked cookie. Okay, and this is what they look like here. Thumbprint cookies. And it's fun because I think Robot Spacer, if it hasn't started streaming already on Twitch, his concluding playthrough with his wife of the Crimson Diamond, he'll be starting that soon enough. He baked some thumbprint cookies for his stream, which I thought was really great. And the reason that this is here is because, my mom makes these every year for Christmas. And I know they're either called nest cookies or thumbprint cookies. But I liked adding this in because it is something that's kind of a part of my life. And we're looking for, if you look here, it'll say puddle under the icebox, strip of yellow flypaper, salt shaker. Jack is here. Look at Jack. Okay, spoon jam, raw cookies on a tray. Can we look at the tray? I think we can. Raw cookies. One of them, not all but one of them is filled with raspberry jam. If you look really closely at this tray, you can see there's a single red pixel that is missing from one of those. We can get it. We can call it dough if we want. Return to Spielberg says, you must have been happy when you thought of having thumbprint cookies as a game puzzle. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is very far-fetched, of course, but yeah, I really couldn't resist doing it whatsoever because it's just it's like a fun idea. And like I said, it's just I like to put stuff in the game. In fact, there's so much of this game that is just stuff that I like clue board and rocks and trains and all kinds of things. Yes, okay. Chad also baked some thumbprint cookies. Yes, yeah, they're fun. And here is this one. You can look at it. Raw cookie has a void where the raspberry jam ought to be, because Jack did indeed run out of raspberry jam. Oh, sorry, I missed the rest of that. That was significant. I wonder if there's a way for me to get Jack's thumbprint out of this. Yes. Yes, here it is. But it's very soft. It's in very, very soft dough. We need to figure something out. Now, this is an example of one of the puzzles in the game. This is one of the more difficult puzzles in the game, and it tends to stop some people and stymie them. But what I wanted to make sure that I'd have in my game is you can actually go to a hint book. This is a link. It opens in browser, and there's a full hint book for the game that you can just check if you want to. It's kind of done like a universal hint system, where it kind of does graduating hints, so it doesn't spoil everything at once, and everything's kind of blacked out, and then you could click on the blacked out line, and it's kind of gonna reveal that answer to you. That was really important to me, because I kind of know nowadays you can't really rely on people to just have the patience to figure this stuff out over months. And also, my game's a text parser game, and I also know that is not super easy to play, and I didn't want to give people a bad experience with the game. So there we go. It's a hint book. This particular puzzle, there is a blue cup here. You can get it, and the blue cup is significant because this game was made in. Oh yeah, I already had it in my inventory because I did the cheat. But anyway, this mug is significant because the blue cup or blue mug is the mascot for Adventure Game Studio, which is the engine that this game was made in. And the version that I'm working in is 3.6.0. And this engine was originally developed by Chris Jones, but now it is maintained and updated by a community of passionate, knowledgeable folks, and I'm forever grateful for them, because they've really helped me when I've gotten stuck with coding and stuff. So there's that. And we're going to need it. It's not just a vanity item where it's actually useful. Yeah, there's a few ways we can do this. This particular puzzle. If we look here, it says that candles will burn down. There are wax drippings on the table and candlesticks. We can get the wax. Oh yeah, we can also drink a toast. To adventure, to mystery, long live text parsers, and EGA. There is, I don't know if I think I did this, but I think, okay, if you drink too much, you know what, let me show you what I mean. I don't actually know, does toasting count as drinking? I can't remember. We'll find out together. Okay, yeah, it does. Okay, great. Yeah, if you drink too much, Nancy will come to an ignoble end. The game is auto-saved. That's another kind of quality of life thing here that I have. The autosaves are marked with this exclamation mark colon symbol, and it's there for insurance. Okay. Although, I do believe, I think I did this, where each chapter, your drinks counter resets. And I didn't add an achievement for this, but there should have been an achievement added where if you drink like the maximum number of drinks for the game, you should get an achievement. I just didn't do it. It would have been a good idea. Okay. Okay, so we have wax, and we need to make an impression, so we're going to need to melt this wax. And there's a number of ways to do it. I will do it the most elaborate way, which is you can put wax in mug, and so it's not an inventory anymore. We can open this cupboard, get a saucepan, and this is something where you can do these steps almost in any order, which was just a lot of hassle to program. But you could put the mug in the pan from here, and now it's in your inventory like that. Then you can fill the pan. Fill pan with water, and that all is in, yeah, that's all in your that's all in your inventory. Yes. hot liquid wax. Or you could have filled the pan from the sink, which would not have been hot water, and then you would have had to put your double boiler on the stovetop to heat the water. But we have wax. We're going to pour wax into cookie. We can call it cookie or dough. The game knows. Here it is. Filled with liquid melted, but we need to chill the wax. You can chill wax in icebox. Okay. And if we check the inventory, we can see that it's gone white colored now because it's now cooled, which I'm very proud of for some reason. Then we can use this a few ways. You can crumble the cookie, but I like to eat it. And then we're left with, ta-da, this impression of Jack's thumbprint cast from the chilled cookie. Another thing we need to do, this visual cue of the puddle being here, it wasn't in earlier chapters, and it's a cue to hopefully investigate this part further. We have an ice pick because we got that in chapter 2, which we didn't actually play together, but here it is, the ice pick. And we can get ice with the ice pick now, in fact. And I mentioned in chapter 2 we did some field work and where we kind of examined our specimens. And you can do that with we can do that with the ice as well. We can look at the ice, right, through our loop. We could also rub ice on streak plate, which kind of does what you expect it to do because it's ice. Gets slushy and then it melts. But do we get points for that? I guess we streaked the ice. That's great. We got points. Let's see. Let's go into Kimmy. Oh yeah, and Nancy will not leave the room with the saucepan or the kettle. So. Look, Kimmy's mug. 1/3 full of hot tea. Let's try to get her mug. If we try to get Kimmy's mug, she says she's still drinking it. It's nice and hot. We can put ice in her mug. We have to wait till she puts it down. And then we slip the ice in her tea, and then she says that it's cold. Now we can get her mug. Get mug. We can dust the mug. Here it is. We can get Prince. We can refill her mug with tea to be nice. And there it is. Now refilled. And this is something I added to this build that will be in the update. But we can give Kimmy mug to Kimmy. Oh, whoops. And then we leave. And she says, "What's the greasy black stuff on my fingers?" She doesn't say that in the current version, but I thought it was funny because we didn't wipe the black soot off. And Nancy just leaves. Okay. And let's see. Let's do a review. Okay, we need a complete set of fingerprints. We need Albert. So Albert's our last one. And Albert, we have this nice cookie, and there's a salt shaker on the kitchen island. Salt shaker largely made of silvery metal. We can sprinkle salt on cookie. Right. We can take a look at it. Still looks delicious. It looks like just sugar. If you weren't a prankster, you might assume it was sugar. There's a couple. There's a couple of ways to solve this, and I hadn't realized it. Another thing I forgot is that, okay, you need to make Albert thirsty, so he would touch his drinking glass, then we can get the fingerprint off his glass. You could give him a salted cookie, or you can give him Jordan almonds, which I actually don't have right now, so let me get some of those. There are Jordan almonds in this game, in this room. We can get some. We can look at them. And get points for looking at them, in fact. Now, we could give Albert that, and he finds them quite sweet, and he wants to take a drink of water. Or we can do the cookie. Let's give cookie to Albert. Okay, so he gets it. Because we've pranked him, he gets you could just repeat the cycle of giving him never-ending cookies and that you don't salt, and he just says they're delicious. But yeah, if you put the salt on, then he wants that water glass, which he then drinks out of, and then we can then now fetch his print. Dust glass. Okay, get print. Yes, okay. Now compare fingerprints. And you'll notice that in the notebook we have this huge entry in the notebook that has all these asterisks. This says compare fingerprints to draw your conclusions, which means that's what you explicitly need to do to progress to chapter 4. But if you don't want to progress to chapter 4 and you still want to wander around, ask people some questions, you can do that. But I think we are going to do it. So we're going to compare prints. I guess at this point I should have established that over the course of the game so far, Margot hasn't been feeling that well. We'll start with that. Compare prints. And thanks to your impeccable detective work, you realize that Margot's fingerprint was on the jewelry box and the curio cabinet. Yeah, you can, Chad, I didn't realize it either. And actually, you can do the same thing in chapter 2. To get to Albert to leave the boulder, you can give him almonds. And he gets thirsty and goes to the kitchen for a drink. I forgot I did that. I saw someone stream it and I was blown away. I think, actually, Robot Spacer's stream, Unsecret Crush did it that way. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. Okay. Margot is the thief. And Nancy goes to confront her. I know you stole Ness's ruby brooch. And see, Margot's clearly not feeling very well right now at this stage of the game. And the Steins... Oh, we didn't even talk about the Steins. I guess because we're not supposed to know about them because we didn't look at them. So this is the big event that I was so careful not to spoil during all of my development streams. And during my development streams I would do, and I did them for the past 4 years, no one knew anything about this game past the demo until the game launched. And people would assume that this game had deaths in it, and I didn't tell them that was the case. I just said, oh, it's a mystery. And they said, who dies? And I didn't want to say anything. And I didn't, but here we are. We can now reveal all this stuff because the game's been out for more than 2 months at this point. So, okay. So we tell Mr. Richards that his lady is feeling sick. We did great. I don't know how great we actually did because we just skipping around a little bit. But Margot dies. She does. And it's kind of... This was a decision I had to make. I originally, solving Margot's murder or death or suspicious death was kind of the main plot of the story. But then I decided that I wanted it to make it optional for the player, and something else was going to be the main thrust of the story. And it's kind of up to the player if they want to, if at this point, having been invested in the characters, if they want to further investigate that death. But yeah, there is a special reward if you do that, but it's not the main thing. That's what Don says. Such a testament to the complexity of the game that even after a dozen playthroughs, when testing, I would still find new things or see people stream stuff that I didn't know about. Same here. Yes. And Jack looks shocked. They take her down. This is a new room. This is a room that I got to make it way later. So this is the problem. This is definitely the last room, the latest and most recent room I did in the house. And I love this piece of music that Dan made. Okay. This root cellar area. And that takes us to Chapter 4, Tensions. Game is auto-saved. Okay, so what do we have? Examine Margot's body. So that's what we can do. We can look at this place. Now there's a sack of potatoes here. Potatoes hold a special significance for you. Your grandparents emigrated to Canada from Ireland because of the Great Famine. You can try to take a potato. And for some reason, Adventure Game Geek loved this. As comforting as it would be to carry a potato around in your pocket, you resist temptation. It's because, yes, as Nancy mentioned, it's kind of a central part of her heritage was this idea of potatoes and things. But what I'm going to do is, I was going to leave it just off here, but I'm going to take us just one little step further, because I want to share one of my favorite tracks that Dan composed for the game. And in order to do that, we need to examine Margot's body. Okay. So off Evan goes. But yes, this is chapter 4 of the 7 chapters. Yeah. This is something that I was inspired to do because of the similar scenes like this in Lower Bow 2, the Dagger of Amon-Ra. You could take some closer look at some of the bodies and learn some stuff. So this was something I was glad I could include. And this particular piece of music, I just really love it. And I don't even know if it's suitable necessarily. There's an instrument that's going to come in soon. That sounds really weird. That sounds sci-fi, but I loved it so much for no reason. That sound. And when we were composing this on Twitch stream, we were going through, because what generally happens is like Dan will compose stuff and we'll kind of cycle through some of the instruments to see what works and what doesn't work. And when I heard this instrument, I'm like, oh, it doesn't really suit the era, does it? And Dan is like, but you like it? And he could tell that I could like it. And that was really one of the benefits to composing a lot of the music live on stream, was it was a really good collaborative experience because Dan would get instant feedback about what I liked and what I didn't like by looking at my face or hearing my voice and what I had to say about it, which is not usual. And it's not really usual for most creative things like that I've worked on. Like when I was doing illustration, you would submit a sketch or something and then you would hear back in a few days about it, and there would be some email, and it's not the same as getting that instant feedback. And I think Dan and I both really enjoyed that system of composing the music live on stream and having it go that much faster because we weren't having to like wait days or hours to get that back and forth. The music sounds like somber church music. Yeah, I think I definitely wanted it to be somber and churchy, but I didn't want organs because I think organs would have been too heavy. And one of my main briefs for Dan for the entire soundtrack is I wanted it to sound like Canadian folk tunes, like folk tuney. I didn't want it to sound really elaborate and orchestral. I wanted it to sound, I think we talked about it very early on, I wanted the music to sound like it could have been performed by just a few, basic portable instruments like fiddles or trumpets or clarinets and things. Like I didn't want, like any super huge instruments that like would be orchestral, or an organ would be like that. So yeah, that was something that he did so well. And I'm super, super proud of the work that he did for the game. And the soundtrack actually right now is on Bandcamp. And occasionally there are something called Bandcamp Fridays, which I think means that Bandcamp doesn't take their cut or something. I'm not sure what the scheduling is like for that. I think they do it once a month, but I definitely encourage you, if you love the music, definitely pick up the soundtrack on Bandcamp because it helps support Dan. And yeah, really. I think we're going to leave it off here. But like I mentioned at the top, I usually stream on Twitch at 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays for Crimson Tuesdays. If you enjoyed watching this stream tonight, that's where I'll be next week and all the weeks to come. It's a really fun time. I've been doing, as I said, working on an EGA version of my key art for the game. And then I end off the stream with some retro EGA adventure games and stuff. So, happy AdventureX Steam event. This was, thank you so much for coming, everybody. Like I said, AdventureX was a real big deal for me to show the game and get to show the game so early on, and really motivated me to get to the end of it. It really made me feel like I was a legit developer, and the amazing people that I've met, they're friends to this day. And I got to go to London, which I'd never done before. The game not only has been great because I made a game, but everything that came with it, which is, yeah, the people I met, the places I got to go to show the game, and all these opportunities. It's been wonderful. So yeah. And oh yeah, I should also mention, I do plan on making a sequel. I have lots of notes about that, and I'm very excited to get started on that, but I probably won't get started on that until the new year. I've got some other things going on right now that hopefully I'll be able to share with you at some point. I'm not sure when, but yeah, I'm oh, also, of course, the update. The next update, which should happen, like I said, in the next couple weeks with this new font. But yeah, thank you so much. As I mentioned also at the top, the game is currently 10% off on Steam. If you like it, please, 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 please leave a review. It's so important for indie devs, and it helps us get visibility on the Steam store page. Yeah. Have a wonderful, wonderful... Oh yeah, before I do that, and also, I mean, I shouldn't even say this because we're on Steam, but yeah, the game is also on GOG, it's also on itch.io, it's on Fireflower Games as well. All those places. And I actually learned recently that on itch.io, you don't even need an itch.io account to buy it on itch.io. And then you get a secret unique URL where you can get the updates and updated versions of the game and stuff. So that was cool, and I didn't know that. Anyway, have a good, wonderful rest of your AdventureX Steam Fest. Check out all the demos and take advantage of all the sales. Support your local indie devs and your non-local indie devs. We love what we make, we love what we do, and that's why we keep doing it. And your support means everything to us. Have a great weekend, and if you play the game and enjoy, you let me know. Okay, I'm gonna stop it here, and I will put this stream on rebroadcast. Probably over the weekend or maybe tonight after I edit it down a little bit. But anyway, okay. Thank you so much again for coming. Enjoy the rest of the event, and I'll see you online sometime. Okay, bye.